primary parent is, the other person has to adjust to their lifestyle.
What's good, YouTube? This is KB LaFleur. You can call me KB. Welcome back to another video. We got something pretty good today, man. We got this sister jumping online, getting upset because we had this situation with Halle Bailey and her baby father, DDG. Right now, of course, they got the little situation going on where DDG claiming that he can't see his children and yada yada yada. You know, and for the most part, man, it's just been wild. I think it's just a wild, very childish situation. A wild and very childish situation. A lot of the stuff that they're doing, a lot of this stuff, man, that I'm seeing is once again, it's just something that, in my opinion, some young ass children would do. Now, I definitely think, you know, I still feel that Halle Bailey is definitely I wouldn't say traditional woman, but maybe submissive woman, right? You know, I feel like she definitely is one of your good ones. You're just dealing with a guy who, in my honest opinion, man, that just doesn't take it as serious, right? Doesn't take life as serious as you would expect a man to. Well, KB, what do you mean? Look at some of his antics that he does online. Like, look at some of the stuff that he does, right? For the most part, man, I always thought like, yo, okay, man, this dude, he and, you know, him and Halle Bailey are still together, yada yada yada. And I see him posting other videos with other women, this, that, and the third. It's just mighty. It's just some things you just can't do, right? Some things you just can't do. So I just think he's just still not out of that phase. I think he still need to grow up, in my opinion. But this sister wants to get on here and say, well, you just can't leave in and out of my house whenever you want to, being that we're not together anymore. So she's addressing the baby fathers who take it upon themselves to have access to their baby mother's house. And as some woman in the comments will say, they use that as a tactic to have full access to your house. Oh, well, I need to see my child. I needed this. I needed that.
Get the chance to be a dad when I want to be a dad. Like, I don't give a fuck about hanging around those girls. I want to be around my son. You feel me? But since I can't be around my son, I'm obviously going to work. I'm not finna sit in the crib, look at the wall and cry about this, you know? I'm going to go work. So it's like every single day or every other day, I'm trying to see him. I'm trying to get him to come over or whatever. I never get him dropped off. I always go pick him up. I live far as so I'm driving hours to go get him, and then I get there and I can't get him, or I can't see him. My son is sick right now. I want to see my son. I want to hold my son. I want to, you know what I'm saying? I just want to comfort him. I want to put him in the shower, get some steam in his nose so he can feel better. I don't get the chance to do that. I get pinned against the wall, and then everything else is variables on why I can't see my son. You feel me?
So, I mean, let's just see what she's talking about.
Whoever the primary parent is, the other person has to adjust to their lifestyle. You don't get to come in and disrupt nap time or bath time or any other time because today is the day that you want to see your son. Why tell the internet when you could tell the judge? And why not go and get 50-50 custody? Oh, I know. It's because you like the freedom of being able to come and go as you please, but she's supposed to always be home with the back door unlocked in case you drop by. You can't just show up at people's houses unannounced, even if she is your baby mama. If you want more rights, get off of the internet and into a courtroom.
And if any woman ever use the excuse that, well, she's speaking in general, right? She's speaking in general because she brings up, well, whoever the primary parent is, but then follow it up with, oh, well, if she has to leave the door open, well, she has to. Once again, we already know who we're talking about here, right? And it seems that she is talking about your Pookies and Ray Rays, right? Why are you talking about the very men who feel like they can have access to a woman's house no matter what situation it is? Why did you give those type of men kids? Because they will always show their signs they will show the red flags well before you even allow them, right? Before you allow them to put a seed up in you. Now, like I said, I think this whole situation is very childish. But it's just funny that you have women who say, hey, well, when it comes down to a man, we're going to put limitations on what you and your child can do, right? Because of course I'm a half full custody. You're going to have to work around me. But it's just so funny because we have this situation of this mother who allowed her 2 children out of 4 children that she has to pass under her care, right? So I believe they were sitting in the casino, right? They were sleeping in the car for 3 months or whatnot. And 2 of her children end up catching hypothermia and froze to death. You, of course, you leave it up to your sisterhood. They're going to say, hey, well, that father needs to be held accountable. They either say the father needs to be held accountable or both of them needs to be held accountable. But it's never just a woman. It's never just a woman who allowed those children to be put in that situation. Because once again, this is the same woman who begged and who asked for full custody, who we would assume she had the capability of having all 4 of her children. Mind you, she has 2 other children, right? I believe those 2 other children might be by 2 other men, probably. I mean, she has multiple baby fathers. That's what it is. Of course, in all of the interviews, she was saying, hey, well, I was trying to give it over to this man. And all of the women saying, yeah, this man should have picked up the slack. And it's like, once again, how are we just going to just say F what this man got going on and just throw those kids over there to him? And he has to just accept it. He has to just accept that. I get it, it's his kids, but at the end of the day, are we going to negate what he has going on? If he doesn't have the space, if he doesn't have the time to take care of those kids, what are you going to do? Well, how does he not have time to take care of his kids? If it ain't his day, that's why I got to ask, is he on child support? Because if it's not his day, right, if he's already paying child support, me personally, I'm like, why are you trying to give me these kids? Once again, I love my kids. I want to be with them. But right now, you know what? Hey, we're doing this 50-50 stuff. Let's stick to it. Right? Let's stick to it. I want to have the kids more. I want to have the kids more times than y'all give me them. But I mean, at the end of the day, y'all are still going to make me pay a certain amount. Y'all still going to penalize me, all of this extra stuff. Like, no, if y'all going to want me to be a father, let me be a father. Stop trying to put limitations on me. And that's what they do. They spring the kids onto the father. They will say, hey, well, you need to take these kids no matter what the situation is. I don't care about your situation. You need to take these kids off of our hands. The man must drop any and everything. But then when a man wants to come in and just chill with the kid whenever he wants to, it can't happen because, hey, guess what? You're on her schedule now. That's mighty wild. But as y'all can see, there is contradictions, right? There is contradictions when it comes down to women who are like this, because she will be the same woman who would say that father should be arrested because he did not take up the kids when the mother was sleeping in the car for 3 months. And all this is just a hateful undertone where you're just putting all of the responsibility on the man. The man is expected to do any and everything, all while bearing all of the responsibility. Let's look at these comments. Someone says, she's right though. If you're a deadbeat, you have to adjust to the primary parent. You don't run ish, right? Good thing most of your black men are not deadbeats. Most of your black men, 70 to 80% of your black men, take care of their children. But then guess what? You're going to have many women who are like her, who want to be disingenuous and be the same women to try to alienate the child away from the father. Do everything they can to make the father's life a living hell. Somebody else says he don't want to go to court because the judge may tell him he can't have Halo on stream anymore. Then somebody else says, I was a dad with primary custody. Mine went to prison when he was 1, got out when he was 7. I had rules and regulations, including the fact that we started with supervised visits at a faculty through the courts. People thought I was crazy for not letting her jump back into things just because she was the mom. She did well with the supervised visits and eventually made it to a few overnights before leaving him again with no notice. Son is in counseling, thankfully. He's 13 now. She hasn't seen him in years. As far as I'm concerned, that's her loss. When you're talking about situations like that, I can definitely understand, right? I can definitely understand, but how often is that situation happening with your black men, right? Not often. Most of your black men are not going to jail, having a child year 1 and then getting out year 8 and then saying, hey, well, let me get into back of the swing of things. Let me do this. Let me do that. I mean, granted, don't get me wrong. You do have black men who do that. Like, do not get me wrong. Our biggest issue here is to have a child. Me and you have a child. And then the next day you're trying to put limitations on what I can do with my child. Well, our child goes to bed at this time, so you ain't finna play with him. But if we were together, I would be able to play with him whenever I want to. So once again, this is where you got to be able to vet your partner, man. Vet your partner. But do me a huge favor, leave me a like, leave me a comment, subscribe to the channel, man. I just wanted to go ahead and just drop my 2 cents on it, because that, once again, a lot of women are disingenuous. A lot of women are disingenuous and they argue in bad faith.